The things, obviously, that Donald Trump and his supporters are trying to do here, and it's obviously preposterous, is compare himself and the fact that he is being that he has been arrested and indicted now in two different locales, and it may happen in other places, trying to compare himself to the political persecution faced by Cubans by the communist government of Cuba. It is absolutely a preposterous suggestion and comparison, but they are attempting to make it, John Kay.
Yes, he is. This is a witch hunt by a partisan Justice Department by his opponent in the next elect. That is the Trump argument. It's also an effort, Jake, to show I'm fine. I'm good. They're coming after me. When they're done with me, they're coming after you. That's the whole persecution theme he makes.
Food for everyone.
Food for everyone.
Class.
He says there. So this is the visual he wants. I just left the courthouse. I'm good.
Welcome to the Why Are We Like This podcast, the podcast about Florida's true crime.
Wait, David, do it right. Come on.
You guys.
Yeah.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Do you guys hear it?
I did, yeah, the second time.
I don't hear it.
I heard it the second time.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Of course we kid. This is Why We Like This, the podcast that treats Florida like the active crime scene it is. I'm David Quinones, and I will somehow cut together that fucking disaster abortion of a intro into something. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Tomas Kennedy. What's up, Tomas?
You know.
Tomas is podcasted out, I think. Tomas is like...
It's been a week. It's been... Actually, I'm going to get my vape. That's how my week is going.
So if Tomas is here, we are also joined, as always, by Gerald Doherty, our fellow co-host. Hi, Gerald.
Hello. I'm doing very well. I'm feasting on the misfortunes of others. It's St. Patrick's Day for me all over again. I'm feeling very Irish about all this.
Very Irish, and also ready to deliver the first of what we hope will become a recurring segment later on at the end of the episode. So stick around for it. It's going to be Gerald's Market Watch. We're going to check in on some of the more woke products and how they're doing. Yeah. But this is a little bit of like a notebook news.
I want to. Yeah. We have a lot of resistance moms who listen to this, and I want to make sure if they're going to be watching this trial that they're getting their Bud Light at Target and tagging us in it. Yeah.
Yep. I'm good with it.
So we're going to get to that. Today's going to be a little bit of like a notebook news dump day. We wanted to mention a couple of sad items first. Obviously, if you are hearing this probably on Saturday morning, Daniel Ellsberg, the leaker of the Pentagon Papers, died at the age of 92. I don't know if you guys have any like thoughts about that, or if that was like I remember, kind of reading about Pentagon Papers when I was in college, and that was like a kind of a big deal, formative political chapter in American history. I don't know. Do you guys have anything like that?
I remember he came to my school at Ithaca College in the early 2010s and gave this like impassioned, speech about like the importance of like not just like transparency, but courage. And Sign of the Times, a lot of those students were basically calling him like the OG Glenn Greenwald, and how quickly times have changed since then. But no, I didn't know who he was until he came to the school, and I came away. It's not like I got to like meet him or anything, but just hearing what he had to say about what it was like and how he would do it all again if he had to. It instills a certain spirit in you, like it speaks to you like deeply.
I'm trying to think of an alternate history where like Lee Iacocca gave him $250 million to start his own website or something like that. And then a little bit closer to home and very sad for those of you who are like sort of in our extended family of Miami folks. Danny Agnew, a Liberty City business owner and activist who a lot of us know. I met him through his brother Philip, who was a friend of my old podcast and co-founder of Roots Collective. Was in a terrible 8-car accident on I-95, which, as a lot of people know, if you've driven around here, it's a death trap, that place. So he died Thursday morning, and there's a GoFundMe, you can find it. Celebrate the life of Danny Agnew. I think you guys probably know the Agnew brothers a little bit better than you. So
I knew Danny.
Tomas, maybe.
I knew Danny. I know Philip a little more. But just really sad, really sad. I mean, he did a lot. They do a lot of great work in the community. They're very rooted in the community, and just sucks, man. Crazy.
Yeah.
And there's a GoFundMe to help cover the cost of the services, which we'll include when we post this as well.
Yeah. You'll be able to click on the link, and that GoFundMe is called "Celebrate the Life of Danny Agnew" to help pay for their funeral arrangements. It looks like they've already hit their goal, which is great. But you know how costs compile with these things, so if you can give a few bucks, give a few bucks. But our main topic of the day, I think, Tomas, was our field trip on Tuesday that we wanted to talk about. The world once again turned its gaze to Miami to laugh at us. They're calling it the freak show at Ferguson Courthouse. Tomas and I were there to see it with our own 4 eyes. And Trump's no good, very bad day kind of came to a little bit of a head. Just so if somehow you've been hiding in a hole somewhere, from the AP, it was a federal arraignment in Miami on Tuesday. It was a historic yet virtually invisible to the public. Donald Trump answered to 37 count indictment. He was indicted. And before you joined, Tomas, Gerald and I were talking about the composition of the crowd, and I know this was something that you talked about too on friend of the podcast too. Billy Corbin's Because Miami show today about how it was like conservatively like a 3-to-1 mix of media freaks versus like just regular normal freaks.
I mean,
right?
I don't know. You were there. You tell me. You left a little earlier, but it's it was mostly fucking journalists and a lot of cops.
Yeah, it was
like a lot of like on edge police officers. Like I stupidly stepped over a police line. Like, and I know that I can be like annoying and like whatever, but I really was not trying to be like provocative or whatever. Randomly like was like, oh, where am I going? I'm gonna walk over here. They were like, sir, step that way right now. I was like, whoa,
very high strung.
Sorry. I was like, I just turned around, but yeah, they were on edge, dude.
Yeah, the anabolic steroids were flowing.
Yeah, man.
There was.
And there were
an insane amount of police.
Yeah, and there were
all the cops. I think all the cops.
Yeah, Francis. We will talk about Francis. The mayor Ponce Postalita was there with like a battalion of like his Tonton Macoute, like 16 or maybe 20 of just fucking these like uniformed goons, surrounding him. Granted, the crowd was calling him like swamp monster and like rhino and whatever, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah, mostly just cops and journalists. But there were, like a couple hundred of these like MAGA people there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. A few hundred. That's what it seemed like. And around every one of them that was willing to talk, there was like a gaggle of 20 journalists. Mm-hmm. So it made it seem it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say maybe like 500 of them, and like a lot of them were like actually just like people that like flew into Florida or Boston. I don't know, but there's just like a lot of like streamers, right? On like D and C list, like like MAGA quote unquote influencers or whatever. So there wasn't a lot of like community presence. And like what I said in Because Miami is if you go to like a lot of these protests and things, like you recognize some of like the MAGA like community quote unquote people that were there, So like he didn't like mobilize the unwashed, like working class masses of Miami out there to, defend him against the witch hunt or whatever.
As we were saying before, if he was able to like muster such a mobilization, which like post January 6th, I don't think there's any appetite among MAGA to do anything like that, even if they're just standing around, because if your whole pitch was Ray Epps and the FBI tricked me into acting on the slogans on my T-shirt and signs and Facebook memes. You don't want to set yourself up for failure in that way. To that point, had there been some romantic, crowd, adoring fans to talk to and give like a Nelson Mandela-esque like speech about how you're a political prisoner, you probably don't make the embarrassing Food for Everyone, Cafe Versailles meme of the day in the first place. You would just speak to your adoring fans.
Yeah, so let's get into that. What Gerald's talking about is that Trump went to Versailles, which is like this like bastion of reactionary and Republican politics, probably the most famous Cuban restaurant in Miami. The food's not very good, objectively. It's like a
mediocre
crap now.
Yeah.
he went there to do like the usual Versailles Republican meetup that they do. You know, all the Republicans are like preying on him and being fucking embarrassing. And, you know, at one point Trump says, "Food for everyone," and like just dips without paying. Like, and you know what? Like, if DeSantis would have done that, if any other Republican candidate would have done that, I do think there would have been like more anger from the people there. But like, I don't know, man, Trump just gets away with this shit. Like, they love him for it. It's like the other day he was like going after you know, like trans folks and talking about like the sexual exploitation of children and all of this bullshit. And you could tell that, like, you know, he's just a grifter and he's just going through the motions. His heart's not in it. And he says it. And at the end, like, there's like a standing ovation. Like, everybody in the room just gets up and it's like clapping at Trump. And he's like, looks a little bewildered and like says, "Wow, you know, like 5 years ago, you know, I talked about cutting taxes and this was the reaction I got 5 years later. You know, you guys don't care about tax cutting. You know, I talk about this, you know, everybody gets up, a standing ovation, you know. I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about." Literally said this, literally calling the supporters, "You're stupid. Like, you are like clapping seals, you know, like just
I could say
flavor
anything.
of the moment." And they love him for it. It's crazy. But, you know, it's like, you know, I don't want to sound cliche, but it really is like cultish.
It's instant. Like, that's the thing, is that all that Newsmax stuff was them trying to like figure out like what's our next thing now that Trump is out and Biden is in. And for a while it was like CRT, which had kind of an ask to it, which is run for local school board. There's at least some kind of a political project there with the CRT stuff, but they just, whatever the focus groups were telling them, they were saying this just hits a right-wing pleasure zone when you talk about transgender that everything else just can't match. And so now Trump has to pretend that like the guy who can't stop talking about the chandelier at Phantom in the Opera in the 1980s really cares whether some kid is transgender or not. And like, I think he'll play along. He'll play along in the way that he played along with Pence and the evangelicals in 2016. Yeah, because he has to. But it's him doing his best impression of like, what do they like? They like the transgender. Okay, we'll do the transgender now. That's my new thing, is the transgender.
It's
really like, it's like watching you know, baby learn, you know, not to touch the stove, or like just learning aversion things in like in real time. It's like seeing a small brained creature figure out like, oh, what sets off the you know,
but you know what,
pleasure zones in the.
A lot of the supporters, I don't want to make it, just a lot of them are smaller brains.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the cascading effect of idiocy.
Yeah, from one smooth brain down the slopes of another.
The brains are just getting smoother. It's the trickle down effect, the trickle down smooth brainness that we all suffer from.
Speaking of the clapping like seals, he also gave a rousing speech at Bedster, New Jersey, to tens of dozens of people, from what I can make out. Maybe there were more, at one of his golf courses. And I got to say, like, Trump has been jabbed. Like, he has self-jabbed himself, where, like, the whole thing of Jeb is, when is he going to fight back? All these people, you're complaining that this guy keeps kicking you in the dick and you can't get him to apologize to your wife. And everyone's just waiting for you to like throw a punch and you can't. And the whole story with Trump is that, like, whether it's like Barack Obama or Bill Gates or Dr. Fauci or now the special counsel, all these people are constantly bamboozling me and making an Elmer Fudd of me. And it's so sad what's happening. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do about it? He's like, well, when I get in there as president, all this is gone. It's like, that was your pitch in 2016. This whole pitch only makes sense in a world where everyone forgets that you were ever the president.
It's pretty cooked, but he's still dominating in the polls. His lead is growing.
Yes.
He's like, I think it's like he's like 56, and then the second place is DeSantis at 12. At 12, like, he is going down, not up. So, like, look, yes, I get what you're saying, but he's still dominating.
I don't think that's not so I sensed this a little bit when I was in Delaware and I saw a lot of the like conservative lifestyle brand people there. I do think they're in their I'm with her era with this, where even remember, Hillary Clinton was investigated for emails and all manner of Benghazi, what have you, and her numbers went up because people in the party rallied around her to be like, "No, you're targeting her. This is me. You're mean. Don't do this to my." Not any of us, but I'm saying it's not. It's a primal thing where they're rallying around someone who they feel is under attack, even if they're under attack for doing something institutionally wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm saying I think they are in a ideological cul-de-sac now where they're with him because they have to be, in the way that the Democrats were with Hillary because they had to be.
Yeah, look, and we've talked about it in this podcast, and we're not the only ones that have pointed this out. Or politics now are just. It's just I'm gonna own Team Blue.
Yes.
Team Red wants to own Team Blue. Like it's just all about owning each other now,
right?
Like triggering each other.
Yes.
And it's kind of funny sometimes, but it does get a little old sometimes. And quality of life is continuously declining no matter who's in office. And it's at some point it's like, okay, yeah, we're getting fucked over.
Bad. My health. They sent me a letter in the mail. We are legally obligated to tell you that we petitioned the state to let us raise your premiums $160 per month. And there's no amount of owning the MAGAs that is going to do anything about that situation that will materially affect me.
I know.
The one thing I don't want to escape as we move over to another topic really quickly, but from the Versailles storyline, this is one of those stories that gets lost in history, and I feel like it's important to mention because I think we've alluded to this before about Versailles, La Carreta, a lot of these South Florida sort of institutional restaurants that really are right wing hubs for right wing and Proud Boy activity. And if you ever just drive by them on any random day, you'll see the black and gold Fred Perry polos. You'll see this, everything. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. And I always want to bring up the fact that doesn't happen by accident. I don't know how many people know about the Valls family down here in Miami, Florida.
They suck.
But they're horrible. I know they're trying to do some sort of reputation laundering politically where they the younger generation they want to get invited to good parties. They're kind of the Melania and Jared version of
Ivanka,
Miami
Ivanka,
royalty.
Excuse me.
Or Ivanka, sorry. Yeah. What did I say? Melania?
Yeah.
Wow.
Melania. Where's Melania been, by the way?
Stuff, David. You got to unpack.
Do you guys think Melania's alive? Do you think she's really alive?
I don't know.
Yeah,
she might be dead.
She's not in the campaign trail, that's for sure. Yeah, I think she's I don't give a fuck about this anymore. I'm not getting dragged along.
So the story I wanted to tell is about Felipe Valls Sr., who was sort of the patriarch of this family. And the story that's lost to history is this one where he basically in that restaurant in Versailles had a weird sex dungeon room in the back. And do you guys remember this story? Because this is something from 2015 that got completely memory.
What?
And it's hard. Yes, it's hard to find old contemporaneous articles about it. But it's from it's from this a cashier named Ayala who worked there from 2010 to 2013. Where she
this is instead of Pizzagate, it's Croquetagate.
Croquetagate.
Pastelito Gate,
Cortadito Gate. So what would happen is he would order one croqueta from her or some $3 thing. He would give her $100 bill. He would ask her about her career and about what she wants to do. And here it is from the Miami New Times, one of the few sources that still has articles out there about it. I don't know where all of this reporting went, but the court document, because she filed it bears noting a suit against the Valls family company, the restaurant company, not specifically Felipe Valls, but he was named in the text of the suit. And that suit said that during her part-time employment at Versailles in January 2005, because she worked there for something 9 years, Felipe Valls Sr. would visit her at work, order a Cuban pastry that cost about $1.50, and routinely pay for the tab and place a $100 bill in plaintiff's pocket. Valls Sr. then began to invite Ayala to meet him during non-working hours to discuss her future and dreams. According to the lawsuit, they began to have an extremely sordid sexual relationship that included having Ayala engage in sexual relations with Mr. Valls, requesting that Miss Ayala, and this guy's a hero down here. People love this guy. There are streets named after this guy. And
not us.
Not us. He would bring her to the Miami Princess Hotel, which if you've ever seen that hotel, you know exactly what it is. You can't help but see it when you drive by on Lejeune, photographing and videotaping her, and also that he had a sort of a partitioned room littered with sex toys in the back of Versailles. So I just like to mention that story because it feels like it just got lost to history whenever people start talking about, oh, this cute little place. I think Anthony Bourdain visited there. It's like, yeah, did he get the full tour? Did he get the whole?
Did Anthony Bourdain even visit Versailles?
No, he went to
He went to V&M. He went to V&M.
Yeah.
And no, he also went to the place out in Kendall, the La Tropical, not La Tropical. I forget the name of it, but La Isla Canaria. Isla Canaria. That's where he went.
He did go to V&M. I believe that he said that it's his favorite restaurant in Miami. And V&M, shout out, great place, great food, great people. Go eat there. Don't go to Versailles. Go to V&M.
So from two embarrassing Florida men running for president to three, they are just multiplying. Francis Suarez, one of our favorite subjects on this podcast, mayor of the city of Miami, is going to begin what promises to be probably the most quixotic run of anybody on the conservative side.
Idiotic. And not just quixotic, idiotic.
I just wanted to point out that like
worst campaign slogan I have objectively ever seen.
What is the slogan?
It's time to get things started.
Yes, it's time to get things started.
Is that the Black Eyed Peas song?
Go to his website. Go to his thing. It's time to get things started.
A Black Eyed Peas song that originally was like an ableist slur. And
yes.
Oh God! It's just whatever, dude.
My favorite was the Forrest Gump style running around the various parts of Miami that aren't even in his jurisdiction as mayor.
Also, I don't know if you saw my tweet from today. I quote tweeted this guy because I found this tweet. He like completely ripped off that fucking commercial from another guy's commercial that like ran in like for some Fort Lauderdale local office. It's like the same ad, but it's just like low budget. So, yeah, whatever. They would keep going.
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's but I have a feeling that what he would say, taken from the text of one of his tweets announcing his candidacy, quote, "I'm the biggest threat to the Democratic Party." Yeah, that's right. A Hispanic, conservative Republican from a big city. Yeah, the unicorn of all unicorns. We have no
shortage of those in Florida.
Yeah, they're shaking. They're shaking and pissing and
you're
shit.
the only one, bro.
Wow. I think that you two are only mad at him because he destroys your entire narrative. You're threatened, and they're coming at me with everything that they can, but he won't apologize for his success. Guys, don't make him apologize for his successes.
What's the success?
David, you buried the lead there. You buried the lead there, which is he called himself in relation to him being a Republican Hispanic conservative. He called himself the unicorn of all unicorns.
That's a gay thing.
It's cool, whatever. But like,
I mean, yeah, then be that. You know,
God, like,
your dad was a liberal. Like, fuck it. Like, why not just be a lib like your dad was?
His dad was not a liberal. His dad was insane. His dad refused to shake Nelson Mandela's son and picketed his event.
That's true. Yeah. But that's all tied up with Cuban shit, and that's always forgiven. It's always like, no, that's okay that he did that because.
And his dad was. He went to trial in 1997. I'm actually about to tweet a video of this because he committed so much election fraud, had like dead people voting on like fraudulent absentee ballots that then Francis Suarez was a witness for in the trial because he claimed that he didn't witness those absentee ballots, even though it was signed F. Suarez. And he was like, well, that's not me. The judge determined that there was so much fraud in that case that he actually annulled the election, was like, no, Xavier Suarez, you are not mayor, and then made his opponent the mayor. And you know who his opponent was? Joe Carollo.
Our boy.
Joe Carollo.
And if you would think that, and unless you think that a character like that, way back then in the late 90s would be remaindered under the scrap heap of history. No, man, he was my fucking county commissioner up until like 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Yeah. he also like there's so many like golden nuggets of like Miami history that people forget. But like Xavier Suarez was called the local mayor, Mayor Loco. He had what I think is the most disruptive, innovative plan to fix Miami traffic. More public transportation, you may ask? No. More lanes, which is a bad solution to public transportation? No. He wanted to have these fleet of, I guess, like county helicopters that would come in and pick up cars with like magnets and like drop them in other areas to alleviate traffic. This is a real thing that he was like he proposed.
This is like
we have been plagued by these fucking pests in our county for decades now, and now they want to go to the national level. And our responsibility as Miami-Dade residents who have allowed this to happen is to stop this from spreading, this cancer from spreading to the rest of the country. Like, this is our duty to the rest of the country and to our fellow countrymen and women.
I'm still fixated on I'm the unicorn of all unicorns. Like, hey, Francis, I head up a venture capitalist firm, and my wife here heads up a tech startup. Please don't be offended, but we're really into your vibe.
We've been watching your run from across the room, and we're really intrigued by your candidacy.
Yeah, I'm like, that's such a horrible choice of words, especially given like that is his whole way of being.
No, but Jerry, you touch on it.
It's time to get things started. So let's go, baby.
Let's go.
No, but Jerry, you touch on something I wanted to bring up, which is like, I don't want this sort of, kind of comical character. I don't want us to just like lump him in with Trump and DeSantis, because his supporters are a very unique stripe of people. And if you were to rank them in terms of like unsavoriness, I put Suarez as like weird Bitcoin, Elon Musk NFT fucking freak supporters. Like, I would distant third in terms of wanting to hang with any of those kind of people. Let me hang out with like a MAGA red hat wearing freak any day of the week over the people that are those guys. That,
100%.
like, like what kind of vibe do you get from these? It is a very much like, we like your vibe. We've been watching you from across the room.
Yes. I mean,
would you like to share a blood bag with us? Type people.
It's cold-blooded, but not in a Kobe Bryant way, not in a Killer Instinct way. It's cold-blooded in a
reptilian.
I sold all of my humanity. I'm all machine. I'm all graft. There's nothing. It's like Patrick Bateman a little bit. Like, it's very like scary.
And we need to also, David, we need to put these clips. I can send them to you on there on my Twitter. But there's some Cuban violence happening in Miami right now, because another grifter, former Miami-Dade Mayor Carlos Jimenez, and now congressman, has been fucking brutally skewering Francis Suarez, going on every fucking talk show, news show, local radio show, calling him a fraud, saying that he's not qualified, that he pretends to be Miami-Dade County Mayor and not the actual ceremonial city Miami Mayor that he is.
Me? No, I'm not. But I'll tell you what, and I've said this before, I will never support Francis Suarez. I think that he is a complete fraud.
Why?
Why? Because he voted for Hillary Clinton, he voted for Andrew Gillum, and he voted for Joe Biden, all three. And so in what universe will a person that's voted that way in the past is going to get the Republican nomination? And there's many other things about Francis Suarez. I know that he weaves a really good tale, but believe me, I know Francis Suarez very well. I will never, ever support him for president.
All right. He has been elected twice as mayor in Miami as a Republican.
Yeah.
You just don't buy it, right?
No. Well, listen, he got elected by a total of 20,000 votes. Okay. He's the mayor of the city of Miami. The mayor of Miami is the mayor of Miami-Dade. I received 500,000 votes. It's a little bit different.
All right, Congressman, thank you very much.
Saying that he's not a real Republican because he voted for Hillary Clinton, even though Carlos Jimenez publicly endorsed Hillary Clinton and made a show of voting for her because everybody thought she was going to win. So the Spider-Man meme. And the funniest thing, and I didn't say it, like Jimenez said it, so this is not some bullshit from our podcast. I think it was like on Radio Mambi or whatever. And they were like, I know that Francis Suarez is a traitor. And I know because he dated my niece. And my niece knows all about him being a traitor. So I'm like, damn, this is getting like personal, yo.
Dirty
like they fucking
five families shit.
And Billy Corbin, you know, he had Tomás Regalado, the city of Miami mayor that preceded Francis, you know, at the city, on his podcast, a Republican, by the way, talking shit about him and saying how unqualified he was and talking about the FBI investigation for Francis taking this developer money to fast track projects. So, like, yeah, man, like, look, they're gonna fucking like skewer this guy. They're gonna destroy him because here in Miami, you know. The local press has treated him with silk gloves because at the end of the day, they can go to like the local Univision and Telemundo and mega stations and be like, we are not going to fucking pay for any political advertisements. We are going to pull all our money if you come after us. And these fucking stations that are like on life support, you know, they are pay to play. They are pay to play. Like a lot of these, they will call editors, and this has happened, confirmed. They call editors to like get reporters in trouble, to get them fired. But they can't do that shit. And I'm not defending the corporate media or the national media, but like they can't do that shit at the national level with these national outlets. And this guy is an easy target, you know? So he's going to get fucked up. Did you see him on Stephanopoulos when they asked him about the indictment? And like, you know, Francis immediately tried to do like the pivot to like, well, in Miami, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, no, bro. Like, I'm asking you about the indictment. And for like 2 minutes, just like had this guy by the balls.
Well, I don't know all the details about how he handled classified information. I do know that former president.
You read the indictment, didn't you?
And for.
Did you read the indictment?
But what I'm saying is.
What did it say to you? What did it say to you? I mean, I'm just trying to get a simple answer to that question. I let you say why you're running for president. Yeah. Answer that question.
You know, Francis looking like a deer in headlight, trying to squirm his way out of answering, and just the guy just following up and following up. So, yeah. And of course, the FBI is on his ass. I mean, it's going to be like sad because this guy is our mayor and it's pathetic, honestly, but it's also going to be really fucking funny.
It's also insane that like you're running against, if you're running for president and Donald Trump is also running for president, you're running against Donald Trump. How can you not have an answer this week for that question? It's not this. This is so not a gotcha.
He was literally standing. He was standing outside of the courthouse. He was.
You went there.
He was there. Tomas chased him down the street, trying to get him to answer the same question.
Francis, what about the developer money you took? What about those bribes? What do you got to say about being investigated by the FBI?
On the indictment question, bro, it's like just answer the fucking question. You know what I mean? Or just like, you know, say like, you know, pivot to your bullshit like Republican talking points or whatever, or get like combative with the journalist. I mean, the Republican primary voters will love that. Like perform, you know what I mean? Do like the whole political bullshit performance thing. I don't like it, but like do it. But this guy was just like trying to squirm his way and trying to like look, you know, like, you know, trying to not piss off anybody and trying to recite his bullshit memorized talking points about the Miami Miracle, which is all a lie. Because he's used, again, that's what I was saying he's used to that treatment in Miami. But he's not going to get that treatment in the national press. You know what I mean? They're not going to let him get away with that, and they're not scared of him. So again, it's going to be really fucking funny. And even the local press are starting to like, you know, like stick the knife in.
No,
good.
And to Tomas's point, it's true about the way that the media is cowed locally here. The governor just signed or just enacted a rule where enacted a law where just like, yeah, we know that car dealerships add literally nothing to the world, but like you know what, unless like car dealerships will always be able to live, right? Even though they are complete parasites. And you know, that's been talked about a lot, but what I noticed is that the Miami Herald didn't really write very much about it. And what I also happen to know is that a couple of years ago, the Miami Herald got a large grant and a big endowment from the Esserman Foundation, the Esserman Toyota Foundation, the family that owns one of our larger car dealership chains down here. And they use that to fund a couple of reporting positions. And I don't think it's I don't think it's out of turn to ask, like, hey, how come you guys aren't reporting a little more critically on this? And that's the genteel way of doing it, right? As opposed to just calling up and saying we're pulling ads. That's and yeah, absolutely. That's the foundation that Suarez has built his entire reputation on, and it's bullshit. The Miami Miracle is bullshit.
And not just Suarez, but a lot of local and state level politicians and some federal ones in this county. Like, that is what they do.
Absolutely. Yep. So Suarez, do we have any, what's an over under? Let's say it right now on June 16th, 2023, when he drops out, he is pulling out what percent? I'm going to go with not statistically relevant, like less than a margin of error where you can't even know.
Who is that VVAT guy who's getting out now? He was around 2. Yeah,
he's going to pick up the VVAT guy. He's going to. That's this crossover there. It's the Peter Thiel freaks. Those, but he was nobody anyway. He didn't have any numbers.
I disagree. I disagree because Vivek throws red meat. He's a better performer. Francis 0.
So you're saying Vivek numbers are actually too high.
He's looking up at Vivek.
0, like 0.
It just
DOA.
It just feels like everybody that supports Suarez is running like a server farm in Latvia or something. Like, it feels like they're not real. They're like weird tech scammers or something. It's like the same people. Like, he's gonna have spam numbers calling me to to pitch his,
like Twitter users where it's mostly numbers instead of letters as their handle. Yeah.
The people who are under more replies. He's like a bunch of those people. that's what I see coming.
Look, at the end of the day, these people, we talked about this in the podcast with Billy. They're sociopaths, they're narcissists, they're egomaniacs. So Francis absolutely thinks that he can catch fire and become president. He won't. He won't. But at the end of the day, he knows that he'll raise money from these developers and tech grifters, that he can use in a future endeavor, and there will be a future endeavor. He knows that if Trump wins, which, it can happen, don't delude yourself if you're listening to the podcast. He can win. Get some ambassadorship or end up as appointed to the Organization of American States, or get an admin position, some perch to continue the grift. Or if all else fails, he has a surefire thing, which is the revolving door between public and private life. Become a high-paying lobbyist for some bullshit grift. And the only thing that would be a happy ending for us is for the authorities to actually investigate him and for him to suffer actual legal consequences for abusing and using his public office for personal and political benefit. But we'll see.
So this brings me to my if every criminal investigation is actually a political persecution, is his pitch really going to be that Donald Trump is the only thing standing? Me and Donald Trump are the only thing standing in the way of you and your freedoms. If I wasn't running for president, they wouldn't be coming after me. So please like and subscribe and donate and share this video. It
works serendipitously in his favor because he can say, the only reason that this is happening is, is it any coincidence this is happening while I'm while I'm being this firebrand conservative, mayor who's coming out and refusing to apologize for his success as Tomas makes the classic jag-off motion.
Did you see, bro? Did you see when the Miami Herald broke the fucking FBI, the bribes from the developers, right, to fast track those projects, bro? Hand in the fucking cookie jar. You got caught. There's emails, from the developer to Francis Suarez asking him for his assistance and help after the mayor's office, emailed the zoning director that was holding these permits, asking him to remove it. Then the secret, you got caught a little disgusting toddler, with the little dirty hand in the cookie jar. And his excuses, and I posted about this, is the criminal city attorney who literally is under her own scandal for abusing a county program to like, flip houses, told them that it was okay for him to have, private consulting gigs with entities that lobby the city. So he's like, well, the city attorney told me it was okay. He doesn't deny it and says it's a witch hunt because the Miami Herald loves to go after Hispanic political leaders.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about? Like, dude, like 70% of elected officials in Miami-Dade are Hispanic leaders. Like, it's and also like doing the identity politics thing, right? That Republicans supposedly hate so much. So like completely shameless in every explanation, every excuse that he's given for this. And he's not even giving an excuse, right? He's saying like, no, fuck you. Like, I asked our corrupt city attorney, I can grift off of my public office. I can get paid, for this, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to keep doing it. Crazy. I mean, wild.
The incentive structure for this is also like has to be obvious to any of our like nations, like living, breathing GTA villains. Like if Jeffrey Epstein was still alive, he has to be looking at this and say, if I run for office, they won't be able to touch me because I'll cry that it's a political witch hunt. I'll ask Ghislaine to be my lieutenant governor.
It's the new move.
That's the thing is like, just say it's this is all politics.
All political.
I'm innocent and this is politics. Like what other people have to notice that's your way out of jail is become a political figure.
So we're coming to the top of the hour, and I definitely want to get to Gerald's Market Watch section because we talked about this over chat.
Oh yeah,
I gotta get out around 6. So.
The only other thing I had in the notebook was that there were Nazis outside Disney. Like whatever, they were there. Don't know what to tell you. They're here. They live in a place called Wildwood, Florida. If you ever want to go,
guess what? They're going to continue being outside of places because the governor is the one that doesn't condemn them and the one that creates the climate for them to feel emboldened enough to do this. So get used to that, unfortunately.
And now, Woke Market Watch with Gerald Doherty.
Gerald, what do you got for us today?
So I couldn't help but notice, just because again I was just very bored. But I noticed two things: the Anheuser-Busch boycott, which you're all very familiar with, in which Anheuser-Busch partnered with Dylan Mulvaney, and a lot of people have been pretending to be very outraged about that. That boycott plateaued right around the time that the Target boycott being because Target didn't partner with Dylan Mulvaney. Target just had gay stuff for gay kids, and now they're being boycotted too.
The audacity to do a campaign that they do every year, basically.
Yeah, so they started boycotting Target, and once they started boycotting Target, the Bud Light, the Anheuser-Busch stock plateaued. It leveled off. The drop stopped. Since Monday, which is to say when conservatives have been maximally distracted, we'll say, or fixated on just one thing, Target and Anheuser-Busch have recovered, depending on time of day, anywhere from 1/3 to 40% of what they lost since these boycotts started in about 4 or 5 days. Now, this could just be a fluke. I don't know. But I have to think that investors are betting they can get a cheap stock to appreciate the difference into their own pockets and their own portfolios. I can get a $65 stock for $55. I can get a $150 stock for $125. If they're just going to be fixated on the trial, it behooves me to let this money appreciate into my own pocket, into my own portfolio. So my ask for any of our listeners, if you're like, hey, this is going to be like the good old days of Comey. This is going to be like the Comey days when we went to the bars to watch Comey. If you're going to be watching this stuff anyway, post up and tag us in any Bud Light that you purchased at Target. Let us know that you're watching the trial and you're helping, put a dent in their project. Let this boycott be just ashes in their mouth. I'd like to see that. If we're just owning, I'd like to see it. So if you've been listening to this and you've been like, I love the sound of 3 male voices, these 3 specifically, not all the others, and you've been following along, post the Bud Light that you got at Target and that you're drinking and watching, all the details of the bathroom crimes. And let us know. Let us know that that's what you're doing.
Tag us. Between the 3 of us, 150,000 Twitter followers. Of course, 99% of them are Tomas's, but still.
Yeah. Say that you're boycotting bathroom crimes. Hashtag boycott bathroom crimes, and let us know that.
Don't tag me.
Tag.
You know what? Tag the shit out of Tomas.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't immediately let you know that he saw it, just tag him again.
Tag the show. Tag the show. I'd like to see. I'd like to see you.
I will not retweet you.